Hi everyone, Gabi here. I'm a master NLP practitioner, an EFT coach, a law of assumption coach here at Create Your Future, and a mindset shifting coach. And I'm so happy that you have joined me where we dive every week deep into the law of assumption to figure out how to make it work for you. Really quickly, just want to share some of my offerings. I am currently having a sale for client appreciation. So I am having a 20% off sale. So go ahead and book that one-on-one session, get that 20% off using the coupon code LOVE20. Check it out below. Also, too, we are giving away a free course on how to identify and remove your blocks. So you can check that out in the description box below. Well, I'm super excited to share this topic with you this week. We are actually going to be talking about how do you let go of past angers and hurts? Do you need to apologize or get an apology? And also, how do we let go of the old versions of not just us, but our SPs or other people in our lives? Remember, an SP doesn't always have to be a romantic partner. How do we let go of that in order to manifest the new version of ourselves and of them? So we're going to dive into that this week, okay? So I want to start with a subscriber's question. Specifically, a subscriber posted on a short that I had made that was talking about a quote from Neville Goddard. So the quote says, "Do not waste one moment in regret, for to think feelingly of the mistakes of the past is to reinfect yourself." And the subscriber asked, well, how do you practice this? So how do we put this into practice? It's such a great question. So let's talk about this first. So Neville Goddard is basically saying to you, sorry, the pitter patter of little feet is my dog Loki. So if you hear that, now you know what's going on. But Neville Goddard basically is saying, don't focus on regret. Don't regret anything that's happened in the past. Because if you think of the past and all of the quote mistakes or frustrations, things that you might be angry about, etc., what you're doing is you're really putting your awareness on that. You're putting your awareness on those past events, those past 3D circumstances and conditions. And anything that we put our awareness on actually persists in our reality, okay? Because you've already selected it. You're just putting your observation back onto it. And so it's going to maintain in your reality. Oftentimes it comes back full force, like a little bit stronger than it was before. So it's really, really important for you instead to look at your past and to accept it as, hey, it happened, wasn't so great, that's fine. Moving forward, I'm making some changes, okay? The reason why is twofold. First one is it allows you to really and truly have a sense of detachment, okay? It allows you to really be detached from the past and the feelings that will come into that. Now, I know I have a lot of clients that are like, Gabi, I'm still really upset about this. It's fine. You are living a human experience. Remember that you are a goddess or divine aspect of who you are, experiencing this 3D world through a human avatar, through your human body, okay? So it makes perfect sense that you are still having feelings from the human side. What you have to do is you have to think to yourself, okay, is this helping me or hurting me? Very much if you were just looking at life through a human lens and not through an intentional conscious creator lens, you would ask yourself, is it okay for me to still carry this with me? Should I really still be carrying this? Is this really hurting me or is this helping me? More often than not, when you're carrying those feelings about anger, hurt, frustration, etc., it's actually not helping you individually move forward. So really be thinking about that in terms of, okay, is this helping or hurting? Okay. If you're just looking at it from the human perspective, the next piece of that is sorry, Loki's chewing on a bone. The next piece of that is to really be thinking about, okay, if this is not helping me and it's hurting me, then what do I need to do? Well, on the human side, let's take conscious creation out of it. On the human side, you would just decide you're going to let it go, right? However that looks for you. It may look like you having to process that with someone. It may look like you just deciding, I'm no longer going to have this in my life. I'm no longer going to let this impact me or affect me. This may look like you having to, journal about it or write it out, etc. Whatever way it works best for you to let those feelings go, it would be helpful for you to do that. Okay. So we've got that piece taken care of, right? We're going to let those feelings go. The really big key piece here is to really let those feelings go. Okay. That's your big step. Now, Neville goes on to say that if you keep thinking about your mistakes or you keep thinking about the past, you're reinfecting yourself, meaning that if you are, and let's use SP as an example, if you are sitting here telling yourself, I am manifesting my SP and I are getting back together, but all you are doing in your mental diet and your inner conversations is talking to your SP or reliving experiences with your SP that you didn't like, or reliving the breakup conversation or anything like that. What you're doing is you're literally putting your awareness and focus back onto that. And that then is maintaining in your reality. Okay. So remember, what we put our awareness on is what pushes out and persists in our reality. And also what we resist is persisting, right? So I will tell you, oftentimes when I work with clients and they come to me, especially working with an SP, they're like, Gabi, I really want an apology before I want to manifest us back, but I want an apology. I want him to apologize, or I want her to apologize. Like, she really hurt me. Or I'm really frustrated that we're still in this situation and it's really annoying to me. Or the big one is, you know what, Gabi, like I'm so frustrated because it's not here yet in my 3D and it's really frustrating me. I'm recognizing it's not here yet. I'm getting impatient. I don't know what to do. Okay. All of these are you identifying with your 3D human self, recognizing that your 3D human self is looking at all of these components, and they're all 3D circumstances and conditions. Feeling frustrated, wanting an apology, those are all 3D circumstances and conditions. You don't need to focus on any of those to get your manifestation. But also, if you are focusing on those, I'm going to go specifically, let's talk specifically about focusing on apologies, focusing on inner conversations where you're going over the breakup conversation again. If you're arguing with your person in your head, those things, if you're focusing on those, what you are doing is you are really and truly sticking with the old version of you and the old version of your person. So when you do that, when you keep your awareness on the old versions, right, what you're doing is you are putting more focus on that version. And that then is what is taking up your mental diet. That then is what you're putting your imagination into, because an inner conversation, even if you're reliving a past conversation, it is all imaginal. The past is imaginal. The future is imaginal, right? Your only now moment is your power, right? In the now moment. And so if you're sitting there and you're having these inner conversations, or you're reliving a breakup conversation, or reliving a fight, or you're just arguing with your SP or a person in your head, what you're doing is you're putting your awareness on what you don't want. Okay, which is the old version of you, which is the old version of your person. Okay, and you cannot hold two stories simultaneously. You cannot be intentionally creating for your new version of you, or your new relationship with your SP, or the new version of your SP, and still be focusing on the old version, because you're still holding both stories at that point. And it doesn't work. It's a wash, right? I apologize. Loki has now moved over to a toy that squeaks. So it's really, really, really important for you to be focusing on, hey, this is an old version and I've got to let this go. So really be making that connection, which is why Neville says, don't worry about it. Don't regret things. Don't sit there and look at the past and say, okay, I'm going to keep thinking about all the things that didn't work out. Because if I do that, what happens is my thoughts will start to make like patterns. They kind of link up like chains in your brain. And when they link up like chains in your brain, then what happens is then you manifest feelings. Once you manifest those feelings, your feelings then start to feed off your thoughts. And then your body goes into heightened mode or heightened state. And then you spiral, right? Or you get upset, or you get frustrated, or you get impatient. And when that happens, you no longer then are focusing on what you desire. Okay. All right. So I hope that answered that subscriber's question. But now let's dig into, all right, you recognize that focusing on the past relationship, focusing on the breakup, all of that is looking at your old versions, right? The old version of you, the old version of your SP. So let's focus on how do we look at the new version, okay? This is where, if you like to use techniques, techniques will come into play. If you're not a huge fan of techniques, that's okay. I actually don't use a lot of techniques either. I just use a questioning method, which I've shared with you all before, and I'll do it again later in this video. But you get to a point on your journey where you're using a particular technique, you're vibing with a particular technique, or where maybe techniques no longer work for you. And so you've moved past that and you move to a different way of doing things. And that's okay. The really great thing about the fact that you are reality generators is that it's your reality. You make the rules. You decide what works for you and what doesn't. For instance, I have a client who says that every time she's got color changing light bulbs in her bedroom. And so she's like, every time I turn on a purple light bulb in my bedroom and I make an intention, it manifests within 24 hours. That's a rule she made for herself. Nobody else is going to change their light bulbs to purple and make an intention and then know that it's going to manifest in 24 hours. But for her, that's her rule. She declared it, she decreed it, and she's decided that's how her reality works. You get to decide how you want your reality to work. So you get to decide if you need a technique to manifest. You also get to decide if you don't need a technique to manifest. And everyone is different, and everyone is also in a different place on their journey, okay? It's no different. For instance, when a child starts learning how to walk, not every 2-year-old knows how to walk like every other 2-year-old. There are some 2-year-olds that are still learning. There are some 2-year-olds that have got it down. There are some 2-year-olds that never fall and never stumble, and some that do it every moment of every day. Everyone has a different way of doing things, and everyone comes to a different place on their journey in their own time. So keep that in mind, okay? Keep that in mind too when you're hearing, even coaches like me talk to you about how we manifest things. We manifest things in our reality because we've decided that's how it happens, right? So you get to make your own rules. So we're going to start with that. That's the very first thing, okay? You make your own rules. So if you want to use a technique, use techniques. If you don't want to use techniques, that's fine too. Okay, so let's move forward with how do we focus on the new version of us? So this is how I do it. I ask myself, Gabi, what would you be thinking if you had that experience in your reality right now? So let me clarify. I don't focus on manifesting a desire, meaning for me, I ask myself, we'll use a person again in this video. So if I'm manifesting a specific person for a specific relationship, what I ask myself is, what would I be like in that relationship? So I don't focus on the person. I focus on me. What would I be like in that relationship? How would I feel? What would I think? And when I ask myself how I would feel, it's not about, quote, feeling it real. It's about asking myself, okay, would I feel safe? Would I feel secure? Would I feel content? If so, what does that look like for me, right? Because what looks safe for me may look completely different for someone else. What looks content for me may look completely different for someone else, okay? So you have to ask yourself, what would I be like in that relationship? What would I be thinking? What would I be feeling? On a day-to-day, moment by moment, am I sitting there looking at my phone going, why haven't they texted me? No, you're not thinking that if you're in a secure and committed relationship. If you're in a secure and committed relationship, oftentimes you're not even thinking about your person. You're just going about your day doing your thing, knowing that your person is going to be available when you're available, knowing that if you reach out to them and they don't respond right away, they will still respond at some point, right? You know that because your day in and day out has proven to you that your person is consistent. You yourself are consistent. You yourself are stable, right? You know that. You're calm. You're serene. Your communication with your person is easy and effortless. So you feel safe bringing to them anything. You feel safe disagreeing with them, knowing that that's not going to rock the boat in the relationship, right? These are all things you have to think about. What does it look like for me? What does it look like for me? When you start focusing on that, and once you've identified that, those are the intentions. That's the new story you go to. And you identify that for yourself and you ask yourself, okay, if I had this right now, in my current situation, in my current reality, if I had this experience, right, then this is what it would look like. And the experience is really what you're going for. The person is a symbol, right? You look at that person and you're like, oh, if I dated that person, if we had a relationship, a committed relationship, this is what it would look like. Okay. It represents to you the experience that you're looking for. Okay. Just like money represents to you the experience that you can have by having money. What does that look like? The spending that you can have, the material items that you can have in your life, the bills that you can pay with ease and effort and effortlessly. Like, what does that look like for you? You go for the experience, and with that, you then are able to identify what you would be thinking, what you would be feeling, who you would be, right? Because if you think about this, someone who is married handles themselves, let me clarify. Someone who is in a married, committed relationship handles themselves very differently than someone who is single, right? You show up to the world differently. You look at the world differently, right? Okay. Someone who has a surplus of money in their bank account and doesn't have to worry about the bills that come across their table looks at the world very differently than someone who is struggling paycheck to paycheck. Right? Two very different world perspectives, two very different ways that you carry yourself and you present yourself to this world, two very different conversations that you have with your friends. One person who's living paycheck to paycheck may be talking to their friends about how hard it is, how they can't go out and spend money with their friends, how they can only maybe do one brunch a month instead of going out with their girlfriends every weekend. Whereas the person over here who has a surplus of money in their bank account has no problem booking brunches and spa days and things like that because they're not worried, right? Two very different approaches, okay? So you have to think about what's the experience that you're going for and what would you be thinking? How would you be feeling? How would you be presenting yourself to the world, okay? Then you have to tell yourself, because I have this desire and this experience is what I'm going for, and I already know what that looks like by what I would be thinking, what I would be feeling, how I would be presenting myself to the world, what conversations I'd be having. That is the imaginal act of having it. You know what it would look like for you. And if you know what it would look like for you, guess what? You have the ability to select it and pull it to you in this reality. So when you start thinking about how do I change my current reality? How do I change my current situation? You have to go inward and say, well, it's about me. I have to change. Because let me tell you, the Gabi right now who's sitting here giving you this coaching advice in this video is not the same Gabi that was sitting here a year ago. I'm not. Well, first of all, I'm in a new place. I moved in with my SP, so I'm definitely not in the same place that I was a year ago. Okay. I'm also not the same Gabi. I'm not the same version of me. And we aren't. Day in and day out, we move between different versions of who we are. And once we've locked into a version that we really, really like, we stay in that version longer. And then maybe we come across something that we decide we want to experience, and we move to another version of us who experiences that. So you really should be, moving to different versions. You should be letting your old version of you go, because the old version of you doesn't have what you are creating, what you are selecting for yourself. They didn't. That's why they desired it. Okay. So for you, you've got to let that old version go, which often means letting go of the old ideas that you have, not just of you, but of your people in your life, or of your circumstances, or of your 3D conditions. You've got to let those go. You've got to also release those core beliefs, right? Those core beliefs that are something along the lines of, you know, I'm always rejected. I never get a committed relationship. They always break up with me, or money doesn't come to me easily, or my favorite one, money doesn't grow on trees, because that was a core belief I grew up with, right? So you've got to let those beliefs go so that you can make room for those new beliefs to come forward and for you to grow those new beliefs. Really and truly, that's what you've got to do. It's like a seed. You've got to plant it and then you've got to water it. Okay. So let's now move into talking about what we can do practically to move into the new versions of ourselves. Okay. So as I said, you have to be thinking about, what would I be thinking? What would I be feeling? What would I be experiencing? How would I show up to the world? Once you've got an idea, you don't even have to be clearly locked in on those details, but once you've got an idea, that's really and truly when you want to say, oh, okay, so that's the new story I'm telling myself. It can be general. It can be, you know what? I would be feeling easy breezy, lemon squeezy, because all I have to do really and truly is just pay a bill. I don't have to worry about anything else, right? It could be that easy and effortless. You could literally just tell yourself, all my bills are paid in full all the time. I don't have to worry. And I love that. I love that I don't have to worry because all my bills are always paid in full, right? That could be the new story. You don't have to get super detailed. You don't have to sit there and say, oh, well, all my bills are paid in full because I make $10,000 a month, US dollars, and I make that because I do this and this and this. You don't have to do that. You can if you want. It's your reality. You make the rules. You can do that if you would like, but you don't have to do that, okay? You can get general or you can go specific. It's up to you, okay? So you've decided now, this is what I would be experiencing. This is what I would be thinking. This is what I would be feeling. That is now your new story, okay? That's your new story. That's the new version of you. That's the version of you you've now got to move to. Okay. So what you need to do is you need to start thinking about your mental diet. Okay. I'm saying okay a lot in this video. I apologize. So we're thinking about your mental diet, and every time you catch yourself going back to your past, going back to 3D circumstances and conditions, going back to inner conversations of what you don't want. So reliving breakup conversations, maybe reliving being rejected for a loan or whatever, right? Whatever it was that triggered you to have this new desire, and reliving all of that. So when you start doing that, that's really when you need to check yourself. You need to say, okay, I said it again, guys. I'll stop saying it. You need to check yourself and you say, all right, this is what I would be thinking right now if I had this in my reality. And then tell yourself that new story. The more often you remind yourself of that new story, the more it will push through to you. Meaning, hear me again, it will push through to you. Meaning that you will start to accept that as true. You will start to see that as who you are. Once you are making that connection and you've accepted that as your reality, you've accepted that as true for you, this is who I am. This is exactly who I would be if I was experiencing this right now, then your world will start to conform and then confirm it. It will start to show up in your reality. Now, if you're doing this and simultaneously, or in the moments where you're not focusing on who you would be if you had your experience and you were having that in your reality, if instead you are focusing on, it's taking too long, how long is this going to take? I'm impatient. I feel like I've been doing all the work. I feel like I haven't been wavering. I'm going to tell you, that right there is you still holding on to the old version of you. That is you still telling yourself you do not have your desire yet. And when you do that, you delay your own manifestation. You get in your own way. We've all done it. So don't feel bad about it. Instead, now that you know better, you can do better. So I intend that this has answered all of your questions. I intend that I have given you amazing tips on how to practically manifest your new version of you and how to let go of the old version of you. Some intentions I'm going to leave you with. These work great when you're anxious, when you're spiraling, when you just need, to get yourself back to neutral, as well as some intentions that I've used to remind myself of who I am. Okay? I did it again. Guys. All right, let's start. Everything is always working out for me. I am not worried because this is just part of the unfolding of my manifestation. It is happening, and it is happening now. This is the easiest thing I've ever done. I am the operant power. I decide. I always get exactly what I want. I manifest the selected experience that I desire immediately into my reality. I am the next best thing since enter your favorite food. I always get exactly what I want at exactly the right moment. Everything is unfolding just as it needs to. This is my path of least resistance. I am the goddess, powerful queen of my reality. I'm the only one who writes my rules. I decide what, I decide when, I decide who. I am so grateful now that I am seeing the new version of me at all times. Moving into the new version of me is the easiest thing I've ever done. I move to the new version of me all the time. I am always moving in and out of versions of me. Moving into the desired version of me is so easy. There you go. All right. If you have any suggestions for videos, go ahead and leave that in the comments down below. I love, love, love meeting with you every week, and I cannot wait to see you next week. Happy winter holidays, and I will see you soon.